I want to focus especially on the problems of the BBC. The BBC is an institution whose ideals I love and I want to defend, but I find it increasingly hard to do so. Somewhere along the line, it feels as though it lost track of its public service mission. I don't doubt the BBC's commitment to serve and reflect communities across the country, but sadly this is conceived in a rather technical way by focusing on regional production sites and programmes commissioned outside the M25. All good. But why then in the same month last year did we hear of £25 million cuts to establish regional programmes, while a pledge of £100 million was made to a new diversity initiative? I worry that obsessing about a particular interpretation of diversity does not serve all audiences, but rather, and does not stress what we have in common, but rather plays on differences. My fear is that there is a balkanising of audiences going on by attempting to tailor programmes to different demographics and identity groups. It's true, this does reflect one aspect of modern Britain, the divisive and essentialising identity politics so fashionable in metropolitan echo chambers. It can lead to the crassest form of programme making. Look at how broadcasters don't so much cater for 16 to 4-year-olds as chase after them, flattering and fawning to prove PSB is relevant. It's excruciating witnessing the resulting soft bigotry of low expectations. Look at the tangle Radio 3 and the Problems gets into. Add a bit of grime and rap and the audience will love us, you feel them saying. Too many in PSB seem convinced that the young are an undifferentiated blob that has the attention span of a gnat. The irony is, what the young are watching on streaming services, well, it's complex, nuanced, challenging, long-form documentaries and drama series. Another problem I have with the focus on diversity is it too often neglects diversity of opinion and thought. And even though Tim Davie, the BBC Director General, used the word impartiality 11 times in his inaugural speech, the most common complaint I hear about the BBC is that it's partial by offering a narrow worldview. The problem with the present strategy is that it assumes that a Geordie accent or a Yorkshire accent means diversity. But you can talk metropolitan orthodoxies with a northern voice, believe me. The BBC may have dumped received pronunciation, but their embrace of a suite of received opinions feels even more stifling and condescending. And often the BBC can't hear itself. It just doesn't realise it's tone deaf about diverse values and worldviews it doesn't share. And this became apparent to me personally in 2016. I was a panellist on Radio 4's Moral Maze for 20 years. I've done all the current affairs and news programmes the BBC has to offer, a bit of a BBC lovey if you want. And no doubt I was seen as a bit of a maverick, but I was accepted on the scene. However, when I mentioned I was going to vote Leave, it was met with disbelief. "But you're an intelligent, well-educated person, Claire," said one senior producer. And from then on, in studios and green rooms, a growing sneer. And that sneering was even more viscerally observed by audiences. The virtually unanimous view that Brexit was a foolish, backward, inexplicable idea meant that those called public service broadcasters did not have a clue what the public were thinking and were totally shocked at a referendum result. And so many news reports before and since that democratic vote have given the impression that PSB just don't like the public. It's sometimes suggested that anyone who makes such criticisms, and it's already been said here, are whipping up grievances and fueling a culture war. I often think it's the other way round, and I worry that the BBC is inadvertently behaving like an activist in the culture wars. There are endless examples. The bizarre statement from Countryfile about the UK countryside being a white environment. The Rule Britannia saga at the BBC proms. And it wasn't Defund the BBC campaign who clipped a section of the BBC Sounds podcast featuring two young women hectoring older white women for being Karens who should educate themselves about their white privilege. Get out of the way, they said. Basically leave, they ordered. The BBC eventually deleted the clip after a backlash. But what were the BBC thinking? Educate yourself, you Karens, makes the old-fashioned patrician Reithianism sound positively egalitarian. The BBC is owned and paid for by the public, and it has a moral duty and not just a...
My Lords, I'm sorry to interrupt the noble lady, but we have a time-limited debate.
Anyway, don't be complacent or public service broadcasting will never survive.